Ukrainian eyes had been planning his plant's destruction for the last 3 months. In exactly 73 seconds, that $7 billion jackpot is about to become the brightest light in the Russian sky. And that $7 billion figure isn't an exaggeration, because this isn't just a refinery. It's the primary, fuels the tanks that threaten Europe, powers the capital, and funnels billions in hard currency directly into the Kremlin's war chest. For Ukraine, taking this facility offline isn't just a symbolic victory. It's a direct chokehold on Russia's ability to wage war, making it a target of almost unimaginable strategic value. 300, a 440-pound mothership drone that had been screaming towards Ryazan at 150 miles per hour, hugging the terrain at a suicidal 130 feet. Strapped to its airframe were 10 custom-built FPV attack drones, each armed with a 4.4-pound shaped charge warhead. On heavy defenses to stop. The operation was a masterclass in exploiting Russia's over-reliance. The math is what should be giving Russian generals nightmares. The Sokil 300 drone costs about $100,000. The 10 FPV drones it carries cost $5,000 apiece. The target is the ELO AVT-6 cracking unit, a single piece of infrastructure valued at $500 million inside a refinery worth $7 billion. Ukrainian intelligence spent months identifying this single point of failure. This isn't warfare, it's the most brutal corporate takeover in history, and the stock is about to crash. 15 hours long before the target was in sight, the Sokil 300 had lifted off from a concealed field in Sumy Oblast. For the next 90 minutes, its flight was a masterclass in exploiting physics. Hugging the terrain at 130 feet, it used the very curvature of the Earth as its primary shield. This wasn't some pre-programmed straight line. It was a winding, treacherous path paved with relentless intelligence gathering. U.S. satellite data provided the static map, but Ukrainian Lelika 100 scout drones provided the real-time traffic report, painting a precise gaps in Russian air defense. This entire operation was born from 4 weeks of meticulous planning that identified the refinery's Achilles heel. The choice of the Sokil mothership wasn't for show. It was a cold, hard calculation. Instead of launching dozens of long-range drones that could be picked off one by one, they chose to send one larger, stealthier craft to deliver the knockout punch up close. It's like the difference between an archer firing a volley of arrows from a mile away and a hunter who quietly walks up and puts the knife exactly where it needs to go. And one of those FPVs was different. Instead of a warhead, it carried a compact, custom-built jamming pod. Its only job was to a 10-second window of pure electronic chaos to blind the S-400's primary radar at the critical moment. It's the electronic equivalent of throwing sand in the goalie's eyes right before you take the penalty kick. 01:58 hours, just 12 miles from the refinery, the Sokil executed its purpose. It released its 10-drone payload and banked hard for home. That 12-mile mark wasn't a guess. It was a kill zone calculation. Outside the maximum effective engagement range of the Panzer S-1 air defense systems protecting the facility. $7 billion asset with a chain-link fence and a sleep security guard. This is a billion-dollar fortress built with the kind of arrogant overconfidence only petrodollars can buy. All is the S-400 Triumph system, whose Big Bird and Nebo-M radars are designed to track strategic bombers and ballistic missiles 200. It's like buying a professional telescope to look for alien invasions while completely ignoring the termites eating the foundations of your house. Then there's the electronic moat, the Krasuka 4, in every direction with so much raw radio frequency noise that it can give a satellite a migraine. If anything somehow gets through that electronic Hurricane 12 Panzer S-1 complexes, form the inner wall. One is a $15 million self-contained death machine bristling with missiles and 30mm cannons designed to shred anything that gets too close. Add 2 Mi-2 helicopters on permanent standby and Spetsnaz patrols, so they're probably playing cards and you have the most expensive security system oil money can buy. Inside a climate-controlled command vehicle, an operator named Sergey hasn't spilled his tea in a year. On his screen, the airspace is clean. He's been trained to believe this facility. He sees reports of Ukrainian drone strikes on the front lines and scoffs. Children's toys, he tells his colleague. He has no idea that 10 of those toys are now inside his kill zone, and they're about to teach him that in modern war, it's not the cost of your weapon that counts, but the intelligence. 59, 2 of the 10 FPV drones break from the pack and punch their throttles, climbing aggressively. Their mission isn't to hit anything. It's to get painted by Russian. On the S-400's gravestone display, two bright blips materialize out of the ground clutter. The system does exactly what its $500 million price tag says it will do. It acquires, tracks, and locks on with ruthless efficiency. As the S-400 focuses its powerful two decoys, the designated jammer drone, one of the 8 still flying low, unleashes a focused 10-second blast of high-powered microwave energy aimed directly at the gravestone's receiver. It's the electronic equivalent of someone pointing a high-beam flashlight directly into your eyes when you're trying to find your keys in the dark. You're not blind, but you can't see a damn thing that matters. In that window of engineered chaos, the 7 remaining attack drones slip through the gap completely undetected. The Krasuka 4 has rendered GPS completely useless, but these drones don't need it. They're navigating using solid-state gyros and accelerometers that track every change in velocity and direction. Sophisticated attack that would disrupt most consumer drones, but these aren't hobby shop gadgets. You can jam GPS, but you can't fool inertial navigation. The electronic chess match is over. Ukraine just checkmated a $1 billion defense with a 10:00 hours the first FPV impacts. Its target isn't the ELU AVT-6, not yet. It's a secondary pipe rack. The 4.5-pound shaped charge detonates its copper liner, forming a high-velocity jet at 25,000 feet per second. It doesn't just explode, it vaporizes a precisely engineered hole through just over half an inch of steel at over 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But this success creates an immediate problem. A thick black unburnt hydrocarbons billows into the sky, completely blinding the optical cameras of the explosion. Is the slap in the face the Russians needed. Suddenly, the entire electronic landscape changes. The Krasuka 4 surges to life, pumping out enough raw RF energy to disrupt every civilian cell phone from here to the next oblast. 2 Mi-28 Havoc Guilets, ordered to hunt for any electromagnetic signatures they can find. The Russian Ministry of Defense would later claim 92 drones were shot down across the country, 8 of them here at Ryazan. The reality on the ground was far more chaotic. The Russian operators intensify their electronic assault, moving beyond simple GPS jamming to GPS spoofing, sending false satellite signals designed to trick the Ukrainian drones into believing they're somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. It's a sophisticated attack that commercial systems, but these aren't Temu drones. Each custom FPV precision solid-state gyros detect the discrepancy between the false GPS data and its actual physical movement. The inertial measurement units don't need satellites. They track every change in velocity and using the fundamental laws of physics. You can spoof a satellite, but you can't lie to Newton's laws of motion. Just then, shrapnel from a near miss by a Panzer missile shreds the propellers of the third drone. The operator, watching through his crystal-clear FPV feed, begins to tumble, crippled but not destroyed. It makes a split-second decision that's equal parts brilliant and insane. Instead of letting the drone crash, turning wreckage directly into a pool of spilled fuel from the first explosion, using the drone itself as an incendiary device to complete the job. A river of fire now begins to snake its way toward the refinery's core, a self-inflicted wound that Russia never anticipated. The match is over. This is now just a knife fight in a burning room. While the 10 custom FPV suicidal dive into the heart of the Russian defense network, the Sokol 300 mothership that for home. Its mission was complete. Now its only remaining task was to disappear. Miles away, it would execute its final command, a pre-programmed dive into a dense, unpopulated forest, ensuring its advanced technology would never be recovered by the enemy. But for its children, the real fight had just begun. Though initially fooled is not entirely useless, it's just slow. Closes, and the S-400 operator, his screen clear again, fires on the 2 decoy drones. 57 E-6 missiles scream into the night, and the first 2 Ukrainian drones disintegrate. On the Russian command net, it's a moment of 2 kills. The operator reports, believing the threat is over. He's wrong. The 7 attack drones are now deep inside the perimeter, and the 12 Panzer S-1 units wake up. Their operators, in a state of pure panic, switch to manual engagement and begin filling the sky with a wall of steel. It's like trying to hit a hummingbird with a fire hose. It's in a fit of water, you're eventually going to get it wet. A proximity fuse detonates near the 3rd drone, shredding it with tungsten fragments. A burst of cannon fire catches the 4th. The 5th, fighting the thermal updrafts from the initial fire, loses control and slams into the ground. A Mi-28 gunship, its optics finally cutting through the smoke spots, and obliterates the 6th drone. The jammer drone, its mission complete, is caught and destroyed. A 7th attacker is taken out by another Panzer missile. Entered. 8 are now twisted, burning scraps scattered across the Ryazan countryside. The Russian defense has cost Ukraine dearly, but the cost for Russia is about to get infinitely higher. Through the hellscape of fire, smoke, and shrapnel, 2 FPV drones emerge like vengeful spirits. Their operators have used the chaos, the very destruction of their comrades as a shield. The Panzers, having expended their ready-to-fire missiles in a panicked volley, are now in the middle of their reload cycles. There is a deadly 15-second lull in the defensive fire. On the screens of the 2 remaining Ukrainian operators, the prize is in sight and its adjacent crude oil storage tank. There are no more decoys, no more tricks. Just 2 drones, 2 operators, and a $7 billion. If you were one of those operators with one shot, which would you choose? The brain or the heart? Let me know your tactical reasoning in the comments below. The Ukrainian operators didn't have to choose, they had commands are sent. Both FPVs push their throttles to the maximum and begin their terminal dives. 3 hours, the first FPV impacts the ELU AVT-6. The 4.5-pound shaped charge doesn't just explode, it performs physics-based surgery. It inverts and stretches into a molten jet moving at 25,000 feet per second, punching through the unit's steel housing and injecting over Fahrenheit plasma directly into the intricate network of pipes and pressure vessels. It's like firing a bolt of lightning into a city's power grid. It doesn't just break, it cooks itself from the inside out. Exactly 1.3 seconds later, the second drone hits the storage tank. This explosion is different. The shaped charge punctures the steel wall, tens of thousands of tons of crude oil inside. The fuel ignites instantly from the heat and pressure, shattering the tank's 20mm steel walls like glass. It's like shaking a can of soda for 5 minutes and then shooting it with a rifle. The result is NASA satellites will register from orbit. % of the Ryazan refinery's output. This one strike contributed to a 17% drop in Russia's entire national refining capacity. Within weeks, Russia, a supposed energy superpower, was humiliatingly forced to import gasoline from Belarus. Combined investment of maybe $10,000 inflicted billions in direct and indirect damages. And unimaginative. 5 more Panzer S-1 systems, and they deployed another pair of Mi-28 helicopters to reinforce the very systems that had just failed. It's like installing a taller fence to keep out birds after your house was just destroyed by a flood. In the end, Ukraine is of modern warfare that my ancestors understood well. It's not about how big your club is, it's about knowing exactly where to strike. You don't need a billion-dollar hammer to win. It's a very smart, very cheap, and very sharp nail. If you enjoyed watching a billion-dollar fortress get outsmarted by a garage-built drone, do us a favor and hammer that like button. Anyone who needs a lesson in asymmetric warfare, or just enjoys watching a bully get a bloody nose.
Anti-tank mine, out of a total of 25, was installed. 50 pounds of explosives lay snugly under the main pillars, metal joints, and turning the entire bridge into a death trap. Just a single detonation signal, this entire mass of steel and concrete would collapse in an instant. The Tsata Bridge is not an ordinary bridge. It lies near the village of Rudnya Tsata, a lifeline of Russian logistics, connecting directly from Klimovo, Zlinka, and Starodub to the fronts at Sudzha and Kursk, sustaining Russian border garrisons in Klimovo and the northern Sumy front. A large Russian supply convoy, which appears only once a week. Intelligence also revealed, in less than 60 minutes, that meant if the strike succeeded, Ukraine would not only destroy strategic infrastructure, but also wipe out a major logistics column. A double blow that could shift and open an opportunity for Ukrainian infantry to advance. From a camouflaged field command post on the forest edge of the marshlands, northeast of Semenyiv Oblast, Ukraine, about 17 miles from the bridge. A detachment of the 58th Separate Mechanized Infantry Brigade fixed their eyes on the electronic, monitoring every movement through the eyes of an Odin 10 FPV reconnaissance drone hovering at 660 feet, flying surveillance around the area. Boson 640 infrared camera show. 0.5 miles from the bridge, a convoy emerges through its hot spots. Exhaust pipes glowing at 575 degrees Fahrenheit. Days, peaking near 215 degrees Fahrenheit. brake systems flashing bright every time they slow down for a curve. Thermal signatures don't lie. This was the target they had stayed awake for. A total of 14 supply vehicles, 2 BTR-82A armored personnel carriers, 1 leading and 1 tailing, escorting the convoy. Each weighs up to 33,100 pounds, clad in thick steel armor and equipped with 30mm autocannons capable of crushing any ambush, with Russian soldiers perched on top clutching their AK-47 rifles. The APCs are the steel shields of the convoy, symbols of Russia's mechanized might. Between the two giants are Kamaz trucks, 5 with tanks full of fuel, their heat signatures blazing from engines and tank bodies, rolling fire barrels holding tens of thousands of liters of diesel. They shine like glowing arteries, the lifeblood of Russia's. 5 more carry an entire mobile arsenal, hundreds of 122mm and 152mm artillery shells stacked layer upon layer, crates of machine gun ammo, RPG anti-tank rounds, even Igla manpads. Each truck carries enough ammunition to sustain a brigade's firepower for days. On infrared, the steel crates absorb heat, forming glowing patches, showing that inside are not ordnance, but an arsenal capable of flattening trenches. Those 5 Kamaz are 5 mobile powder magazines. In the convoy is a military ambulance, a camouflage shield attempting to hide the lethal nature of the column. Surprising piece of equipment sits among the Kamaz fuel and ammo trucks, an RB-341V Lear-3 electronic warfare system mounted on a Kamaz chassis. Its antennas rise high above the truck, running at full capacity, constantly emitting jamming signals to neutralize UAVs and radio communications. With Lear-3's presence, the Russians believed this convoy was nearly invulnerable to Ukraine's electronic eyes. Total 14 vehicles, hauling cargo powerful enough to capture several villages deep in Ukrainian territory, far larger than what intelligence had initially reported. At 5:45 a.m., the convoy advances onto the Sata Bridge. In the early morning, dozens of diesel engines roar, shattering the silence, rolling across a structure Russia considered untouchable. Buried tens of meters into the riverbed, stood tall, its steel beams unyielding, the strongest proof that it could never be destroyed. Everything now hung on 25 mines. Suddenly, a wave of high attack bursts across 2.4 GHz and 5.8 GHz bands from the multiband jammer aboard the Lear-3, suppressing signals across the entire area. Its Odin 10 camera feed cuts out, but inside the command post, the Commander V drone had been modified by Ukrainian engineers to carry a fiber optic cable system on a steel frame. The fiber's core is only 9 microns thick, thinner than a human hair, yet still transmits at 1.5 gigabits per second, enough for uncompressed 1080p video, as well as control signals. The commander knows the drone is safe, directly wired through fiber, beyond interference. Lear-3, one side of Russia's electronic warfare, has been reduced to useless scrap. This was not an easy mission. The operation had been calculated for days. Once Ukrainian military intelligence received classified reports on the Russian supply convoy, thing had been prepared from the night before. This was not another kamikaze UAV attack, so often defeated by Russia's electronic shields. Had taught Ukraine they must change tactics, find a way past the jamming. And this time, instead of flying drones into the convoy, they chose another approach, deceptively simple yet unavoidable, laying where every convoy, no matter how strong, had to pass. Minutes later, when the convoy reached the bridge's center, its weakest point, the commander of the 58th Brigade gave the cold order. The soldier in charge of detonation immediately flipped the switch, but instead of a massive explosion, only a weak light flickered, then went out. The minefield stayed silent, toggled the switch, checked the detonator wires. Nothing. The enemy had anticipated this. Russian electronic warfare had jammed the detonation signals. The 550 pounds of mines still sat under the bridge, but they were silent. A night's work now teetered on failure. At 5:50 a.m., The lead BTR was almost off the bridge. The crew was in panic. On the comms, Kyiv realized everything was collapsing. The commander clenched his binoculars, then lowered them. Came in an instant. Use the UAV trigger manually. The unexpected order broke from the plan. The bunker fell silent. Eye fixed on the screen, watching. On the bridge, the mines waited beneath the structure. The convoy was less than 30 seconds from crossing. One missed beat, and all effort would be wasted. Immediately, the bulky but untouched by jamming. It skimmed the river, then suddenly pulled up, diving into the dark void beneath the bridge. The camera shook violently, images blurring with each TM-62Ms strapped to the bridge's steel skeleton, glinting faintly like lurking traps waiting to ignite. 62M is a standard Soviet anti-tank mine, still trusted by Ukraine. Its design is simple, a round steel casing, painted green, weighing about 22 pounds. Inside, up to 18 pounds of TNT. Spread or break an armored hull weighing tens of tons. Alone creates a blast radius of 7 feet, with shrapnel flying as far as 100 feet. 25 mines chained together unleash unimaginable destruction, erasing everything in reach. Terrifying truth. These hellish weapons lay hidden beneath the bridge, locked onto the steel beams, while the Russians above had no idea. At 5:51 minutes and 30 seconds a.m., the UAV slammed into the mine cluster, followed by a deafening explosion shaking the valley. All 25 mines detonated at once, releasing the fury of hundreds of kilograms of TNT whipped across the bridge. Fuel-laden Kamaz trucks turned into fireballs. At ground zero, temperatures spiked to 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit, melting steel into glowing liquid, creating a sea of fire hotter than 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Concrete split and burst apart. Ammo trucks went up in chain reactions, artillery shells shooting in all directions, raining death. The lead BTR was hurled off the bridge, the rear guard shattered by pressure. In an instant, the Tsata Bridge, Russia's pride, collapsed. Concrete pillars ripped apart, the deck folding, massive steel beams crashing into the river, hundreds of meters visible for miles. At 5:52 a.m., the Russian convoy was obliterated. Kamaz trucks burned, fuel spilling into the river, turning it into a sea of fire. Secondary explosions tore through as ammo cooked off. Russian soldiers screamed, then were drowned out by detonations. Some leapt from their vehicles but were thrown down by the shockwave. Many left unconscious. A few crawled away, only to be consumed by the flames. The entire area was an inferno. Explosions echoed back to Russian rear defenses. Black smoke towered into the sky, a signal of disaster. The supply convoy, the hope of sustaining combat across multiple fronts, was gone in seconds. On screens in Kyiv, officers of the 58th Separate Mechanized Infantry sat in silence. They had just witnessed one of the boldest operations of the war. Only heavy silence engulfed the 58th Brigade's Special Operations Unit. The commander lifted the radio, his voice firm, emotionless. Target destroyed. Mission complete. This was the trademark of the